knocked loose. Ball knocked loose. White dive on it.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor. They try to
Save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, layup. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
Welcome in. First on the floor, Ben Vallis here, along with Wayne Spooney and Jake Eisenberg. The Celtics did not beat the Bulls. They end up losing 117 to 108 after one of the worst defensive performances I think we've seen the boys in green put on the parquet in a very long time. Spooney, Jake, how we doing, guys?
Look, doing all right.
Yeah, you know, the fact that we got shouted out on the Celtics broadcast has helped with the loss a little bit. So maybe we start there because everybody that's listening right now, shout out to you guys because big part of why that happened tonight. Very cool moment for us. 10-19 to go in the third quarter. I hear Drew Carter go, Drew Hanlon. And I'm like, no, is he going to do it? And then boom, please.
Yeah, dude. He did
Fucking dropped it.
Should we run the clip? We got it right here.
Run the clip. Run the clip.
The First to the Floor podcast. Shout out to Australia. And he talked about how Jason Tatum.
Where's the West Virginia shout out? Joe?
I know. I love it that it's just like shout out to Australia. And Spoonie's just like we have to get you a passport at some point just because
that's right. Yeah.
Wrap it all up.
I gotta marry an Australian.
Yeah, exactly. You can do. Yeah, I think they allow one U.S. wife, one Pacific wife.
Yeah, you could legally marry Jake or I, and we could get that visa sorted out pretty quickly. Happy to throw that down. Plus, we get a little honeymoon, a little Bucks party as well. We can throw in all the trimmings. Anyway, this is what we talk about after the Celtics shit the bed against the Chicago Bulls.
We'll do it at Summer League in 2026 . We get married. We'll have a Bucks party. It'll be awesome.
So cliche getting married in Vegas, but I guess.
We were wed romantically on the wooden floor of the Thomas and Mack Center.
That's right.
Spoon's like, I want to be married on the beach. I'm marrying an Australian. This is ridiculous.
Look, before we get to the game, I do have to say, you guys absolutely crushed that pod with Drew Hanlon. Like, for anyone watching, if you haven't watched or listened to it, go check it out. You guys were vibing with Drew like your old buddies, and it was pretty open and insightful. You guys gave me this big thank you at the end of our 500th episode the other day. I don't know if I made a big enough deal about how much you guys are just like completely crushing it. I've said it 1,000 times, but this pod without me on it, listening to you guys is my favorite podcast. So I just wanted to make that very clear in response to your thanks to me. Because I listened back and I was like, geez, Ben, you're a fucking asshole. Like, you didn't even thank them at all or call out how awesome they are. So, and that was never more obvious than during that Drew Hanlon podcast. So amazing work, guys. Go check out that pod.
Thanks, bro.
Hell yeah, man. We just posted the Magic Johnson is a liar essentially clip, which like I'm not sure if Drew Hanlon knew that some of these clips would go like relatively viral as far as like NBA Twitter circles go. So I'm hoping that it would be so awesome if there's like a backlash, not a backlash, but like a response from Magic to like that clip. We'll see. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. Celtics lost, I guess. Probably talk about the game, but the defense and rebounding is specifically in the second half and specifically in that stretch where Scal drew attention to it too. It was like mostly bench plays for the Bulls. They were just turf first. Every loose ball, everyone was getting blown by on the perimeter. The transition defense was a disaster. It was non-existent for like what felt like 20 possessions. So those two things were like the main source of why they lost. I thought we could talk about the refs, which I'm sure we will. Shout out RJ for the super chat. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate everybody. But those were the two things that stood out to me.
Yeah, that's especially end of the third, beginning of the fourth quarter. Yeah. The Bulls were just setting like really high pick and rolls where they're like 33 feet from the hoop. And then like Ayo Dosunmu got downhill full head of steam and there was absolutely no help. And like we blew 4 or 5 switches. Springer was involved in multiple blown switches during that stretch too. Which to me is like his on-ball defense pops off the screen. It looks great, but like this is the problem. This is why you're not Marcus Smart, because you're blowing switches as an off-ball defender, or you're at the point of attack and don't understand you're not supposed to switch. So it was just a complete and utter disaster. I can't remember our defense looking that confused for that long of a stretch in a very, very long time. And it was brutal. I mean, the Bulls play really fast and they move the ball. But Jesus, like, they were getting any shot they wanted for large swaths of this game. And like, that just can't happen. It can't happen. So I chalk a little bit up to Russ. Like, they haven't played in like basically a week. You know, they played like 2 games in 2 weeks. So I'm not worried long term, but that was a tough watch defensively.
What?
Yeah, it's one of those sort of classic situations where it's hopefully an anomaly and you go, okay, we're going to be monitoring everything there a little bit more closely in the next game or two. And most likely it's not going to turn out to be any sort of long-term trend and not concerning. But it doesn't take away from how shitty it is to consume as a Hoops fan in the moment. And it clearly had an effect on our offense as well. 25% from 3 on 56 attempts. It just seemed like, you know, we couldn't throw it in the ocean for the majority of the game. And Jason Tatum, who up until the end of the third quarter, you could say this guy's having an incredible game. Wow, 29 points up until the end of the third quarter. Ends the game with 31 points. So just 2 points in the fourth quarter, rather, unfortunately, which is pretty brutal as you're trying to squeak one out. But the lackadaisical defense right from the get-go, right from the beginning, it reminded me of like pre-championship Celtics, where after the championship, we were able to start games that way and always recover consistently. Don't worry, they'll turn it on in the third quarter, the fourth quarter. We'll bring this one home. Prior to the championship, if they started off like that, it was a symptom that persisted throughout the rest of the game. And this was a throwback to that era of Celtics where they could just never truly recover. It poisoned them on the other end of the court as well. And I really just have basically nothing good to say about this game other than maybe the Jaden Springer pre-trade deadline showcase, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I'm sure.
Blow case.
Oh boy.
He had some good moments.
Oh boy, he really doesn't want to leave Boston. That's what it seems like.
His first stretch was okay. He wasn't bad in that first stretch, but the second stretch was fucking brutal, man.
Oh man. Yeah. Shout out Brookie G in the chat. Every time I see this comment about the season like the Pats, but the still here for D White's ball there, I just assume you're talking about me and you think that this is Derek White from far away, and then you come in and you get disappointed that's actually not Derek White.
Oh, just quickly on that, by the way, the first of the floor shout out on the broadcast tonight, that play ended with a Derek White block.
Oh, I blacked out, so I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
But that was awesome. But yeah, so the Celtics suck off big rests like this, and that goes back to like the 2022 season. As well, even I guess the 23 season as well, but was not the case in last year's playoffs. They just suck off big rest, it feels like. Over and over again, like 2 days off, their record is not as good, the statistics aren't as good. So thankfully after this, it's like game on, game off. Like I know for a fact that that's better for them. Yeah. So clearly a bit of rust. I thought you could just tell, like KP was missing some of the shots. Some of them were the more difficult, bit further out, you know, post-ups, but he missed 2 or 3 jumpers from pretty close in on the types of defenders that I like him taking shots against that just didn't go in, and those always go in. Derek White couldn't hit a shot. Like Jaylen Brown was evil tonight, I thought, for a lot of it. So, like, I'm sure that'll get cleaned up. I think they're going to... Is the next game in Chicago? I actually don't know. Because I know that they play them again next, but I'm assuming they're going to be pissed off. And man, I think the line on the game tonight was like 18 points or something like that. Like one of the bigger lines I've seen on any Celtics game, and they lost.
The signs were there.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, the Bulls are like not a bad team. They're not good, but they are one of these teams that, with the way they play offense, if you catch them on the right night, they look much better than they actually are. And that's especially true in the fact that they absolutely cannot play defense. And when you can't throw it into the ocean with a wide open 3, they're going to be really difficult to beat. Imagine that, when you can't shoot and you can't stop them. So like Zach LaVine is he's just good.
Dude.
He's just having a really good season.
Future Denver Nugget.
Yeah,
no, please no.
Please,
that's a problem.
Yeah.
Actually, Ben,
seriously.
could you ask your friend Dice what he thinks?
I'm seeing him tonight.
Okay, because I think we need to find out what the average Denver person thinks about a Michael Porter for Zach LaVine trade. Because I think like the average casual would still think that's a bad idea. When I think that would be, he's essentially the Jamal Murray, but way better, honestly, at this point. And,
I have a feeling he'll be into it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully Calvin Booth didn't watch the Celtics game tonight.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, Zach LaVine was legitimately good. Are there any good takeaways from the Celtics side? I've got one, which I'm excited to talk about. It's a quick one, but this was the first game where I wasn't worried about the way that Kristaps Porzingis was moving around the floor. It felt like he had a sturdier base. It felt like he was less like flimsy, for lack of a better term, running up and down the court. I don't know. It's all cloudy in my mind after the first of the floor mention because my phone was blowing up and it was kind of like a life-altering moment. But it did feel like there was less panic across Celtics fans and just from KP himself on the court. I thought he looked stronger tonight.
I felt the opposite. I'm more worried than ever about him and his ability to stay healthy. Like it's just in and out. It's a fucking heel problem. It's a whatever problem. He like tripped. Oh, he got by Jaylen at some point. They almost like collided with their feet, and he looked like he was about to start limping. Yeah, what an incredible role reversal between me and Ben here. But yeah,
I know. Right?
I'll be I'm at the stage of just like expecting him to not be there when we need him, and like if he is, then that's great. Like, which is what it is. But every second game, it's like there's an ankle, there's a heel now apparently. Yeah, I'll shout out my mom, shout out my grandma. Love you guys. Appreciate you.
Dude, his rim protection I thought was really good tonight. It's just the Bulls kind of stretched him out with Vooch at times, which hurt us. But I think he's looking healthier. I am not like I thought he looked really quick for him defensively. But the terror is never going to go away from me. I just get like it's never going to go. He's like left the game the last like twice in the last 2 weeks, where he has to go back to the locker room. He comes back.
Which is all
out,
the games,
right?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it's both of the two.
I feel like I've climbed out of the hole. You guys are like
happening?
pulling me back down. I'm clinging to the grass, trying to hold on and not be pulled back down into the depths of hell.
I do think he looks healthier, but as my rational brain's like, yeah, he's starting to look like healthy and better, but emotionally I'm a wreck every time he jumps. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm with you. The referees, the Zebras, probably should mention those guys a little bit here. Jason Hine, whatever his name is, there has never been a more punchable face. Like, there's that scene in Step Brothers where Will Ferrell, like, he finally gives up on his dream of prestige worldwide with Dale. And he starts working for his brother, like, selling, like, helicopters. And I forget the actor's name. He's in everything. And he's like, I just really want to punch your face. And Will Ferrell's like, can I do anything to work on that? And he's like, no, it's just something about your face. And when it cut to this guy's face with, like, the very tight, short, slick comb over and the face that he had on his neck, I was like, you are the worst person in the world, I'm pretty sure. And he gave 2 techs for Joe Mazzulla, just like normal complaining, normal standard NBA complaining. For him to give a tech and then a second tech in a game that was within like 6 points in the fourth quarter is so embarrassing and such loser shit.
And then Tony Brothers, obviously,
Of
for
course.
good measure, could not be stood up. He had to get his spotlight. So he teched up Tatum, who was not even looking at him. Tatum had turned around and was like, come on, man. And like just waved his hand backwards, kind of teed him up for that. Like Jaylen also wasn't in his face, wasn't anywhere near him. Jaylen's waiting for the jump ball, clearly says something and gets teed up. Like, that was insane, man. Like, you made your point, man. You teed up Mazzulla to ring up Jaylen 5 seconds later is absurd. I've never really seen anything like that before. The only thing I can think on Joe is like he was on the court. Maybe that's it.
Man. Well, Nick Nurse got away with it.
Yeah.
Nick Nurse fucking got away with it in the conference finals in the bubble when Jason Tatum thought he was Daniel Tice.
Yeah, passed it to him.
Sorry, go ahead,
Ben.
I was going to say he got away with ending Kemba Walker's career as well, but I
That's
digress. Yeah, I don't have the full quote here. It just kind of like flew by on my Twitter feed, but apparently Joe gave like a total non-answer in the post-game presser when asked about the altercation with the ref. He just said the ref is doing his job. I was on the court. He was right to make that call. So interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. Do you think Joe Mazzulla gets suspended here? Because I'll admit, so the fourth quarter of the game, I was like in a meeting at work and I was watching the game on my laptop while sort of half focusing on both things. One point I look over and Joe Mazzulla is like completely losing his fucking mind to end the game. And like I just see him getting ushered out by a police officer into the back alleys of TD Garden. That seemed like a suspension-worthy event.
Yeah, man. I don't know what the rules exactly are, but I would not be surprised if he gets suspended. That was like, come here, I want to fight you immediately.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool. I enjoyed it personally. That's not an act, I don't think, from Joe Mazzulla. Like, he's talked about how he's gotten some texts on purpose to try and change the energy of the game. The game was over, and I thought he wanted to choke out Justin Van Dyne, which I loved that Drew Carter gave us the name. There was a time, a similar thing happened when Mike Gorman was still on the call, and some bullshit happened with the ref, and I don't want to screw up his name. It was one of the other refs. I want to say like Andrew Chen was his name, and it felt like Gorman put a hit out on the ref.
Yeah.
And Drew Carter kind of did the same thing tonight, which I really thought was a nice homage to our boy Gorman.
Yeah, Joe. I'm trying to think of another similar incident where somebody got suspended and nothing's really coming to mind. So who the hell knows? But I probably wouldn't be shocked if he got a game or two, for attempting to assault a referee at the end of the game. But he'd probably deserve one.
I think I can speak for all of us when we typically don't like lean on the refs were bad side of things coming out of a game. Like we tend to try and like own, yes, the Celtics were terrible and here's why. And it seems like just on that, like the general consensus there is we're terrible coming off of rest. And our defense was just not organized and not fluid as it typically is. Yeah. That'll probably solve itself. But yeah, for us to talk this long about the referees, very strong indicator that there was some weird shit going on. Jaylen Brown said after the game, quote, "The way they called the game was weird," which I think, if it's coming from Jaylen, I think that you can pretty well, there's some truth in that. Absolutely. Anything else on the game itself? I kind of want to move on. We've got some like more fun stuff to talk about. The Jaylen stuff is kind of that we're going to talk about in a sec is kind of poorly timed because he had an absolute shocker tonight. But unless you guys have got anything else, maybe we can get to an ad read here and move on to Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, Tatum had a nice game for his MVP, first team All-NBA stuff. 31, 10, 4, 2 steals, 1 turnover on like 59.7% true shooting. Weird. I don't know. Like he didn't like get the ball really. It felt like till the game was over, and it was like, and then he missed a layup late, which maybe could have made it feel a bit closer. But the refs were not the reason we lost this game. It was just insanity at the end. How fucking dumb it was. It kind of robbed us of the chance to at least try to make it a game.
Yeah. Well, and Tatum didn't come back in till 6 minutes left in the game, which I know is like a fairly normal rotation for him. But the game was slipping away. And it feels like, dude, just get him in there, Joe. Yeah. See what happens. Because the non-Tatum minutes were pretty heinous tonight. Like, they were really bad. And I guess that's partially because he was being replaced by Jaden Springer, which is, I would say, a pretty big step down if I had to, guess. But I thought Tatum was really solid, and I thought defensively he was one of the few guys who looked. Him and Horford, I thought, were the two dudes who really looked like they had it defensively tonight. And Porzingis as well was okay, but
I just remember Horford got screwed on that goaltend as well.
Yeah.
And Derek White, like I know we still got the ball back in that Derek White and didn't get a bucket incurred against us, but like he didn't get the block on the box score there, which was brutal. Nonsense. Consecutive plays. Anytime KP got a paint touch, but especially in the first half, it was just like winning like symphony, awesome basketball music. And then I felt like we went away from spamming that late in the game as well. It's just such an easy recipe for success. Just like get the big fella the ball on the block and either let him go to work over anyone, including Vucevic, or wait for the double to come, kick the ball out, and get the defense in rotation. And when you've just got that available to you and you don't go to it like essentially every time down the court, that's like there's no excuse to be made for that.
Yeah, he missed a couple though.
He's still, we've got to work him back into form.
I do think he's struggling conditioning wise a little bit.
Oh yeah, clearly, yeah.
I almost don't even know because like I don't remember I need to like go. I'm not going to do it, but go back and watch games from last season because so much of his play have been like coming off injuries, like in the finals, and then he got injured, and then like coming back now this season. He hasn't played many games, and he looks like he's just winded all the time to me. And I can't tell if that's just because he's slow, but I remember him being like typically not like that a lot of the time.
Yeah, I've just got to be. Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
No, you go. I got nothing. I was just going to make it up as I went along.
Perfect. That's basically what we do every episode.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm confused. How else do you speak?
Thank you for saving me. This is not a prepared statement.
Yeah, I think the Bulls, when the Bulls like hard switched it, we went to KP, I thought, but then they were just like going and drop and daring us to take those pull-ups. And Derek had a ton of wide open pull-ups off the pick and roll. That he just missed, and Tatum missed a few, Jaylen missed a few. Like nobody could just get a pull-up three to go down, and you just need to shoot them out of that drop defense if you want to start working KP in the post again. Because I think KP can score against Vooch. I don't think that's something we want to do often as a foundational piece of the offense. When has the switch, absolutely, but Vooch is a sturdy feller. He's tough to push around. He's terrible in space, so you want to take advantage of him there. So I think this is a pretty good adjustment by Billy Donovan, basically being like, hey, hopefully they keep missing these pull-ups, and we did. So it worked. As fucking stupid and frustrating as it feels to let Derek White take wide open pull-up threes, but hey,
that's the strategy. That's how we've lost our last two games, has been just like the other team hoping that we miss shots. And like both times, this is what people like always miss. It's just like, it's still close. You still have to fucking win the game and hope that the Celtics really, really struggle. Because the Bulls shot 52 threes tonight. They made 19, 37%. That's a serious number. And the Celtics were 14 for 56, 25%. It was a 5 3-point make difference. The fact that it was, as close as it was just is, speaks to the Celtics. They could have just rebounded the ball. Would have been closer.
Yeah.
Derek will make him.
For sure. Now we're going to come back in a moment and focus in on Jaylen Brown's playmaking leap that he's exhibited so far this year. But first, a quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks.
That's right. Prize Picks time, baby. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while you watch your favorite sports. You can now win up to 1,000x your money on Prize Picks. Just join now because the holiday season with Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards this Pickmas. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for you. Look at this. Look, I know Peyton Pritchard only had 14 points tonight. Of the recent games, I think that's the only one where he would have gone less than. I'm still riding Pritchard. He's the go-to. And maybe look at some Tatum rebounding stuff, especially in this Bulls game coming up. I feel like he's going to be annoyed that they lost. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Shout out Prize Picks. Shout out the CLNS Media Network for presenting the First to the Floor YouTube show and audio podcast, to which you should subscribe if you haven't already. We're now hella famous. I'll probably mention this 10 more times on the show. Drew Carter shouting out the First to the Floor podcast on the Celtics broadcast. So thank you to everyone involved in that. Jaylen Brown didn't have a great game tonight. I know he said in his post-game, as I'm seeing the tweets fly through here, like it's been a tough week for him because his mother was involved in a home break-in situation. We hope everything is well there. That sounds absolutely terrifying. So tough week for Jaylen Brown. So of course can be excused for having what was basically a pretty terrible game tonight. But we're here to celebrate his playmaking evolution throughout his career, but particularly this season, Spoonie, because we've seen couple of instances now, especially in the very few instances where Jason Tatum sits, where Jaylen Brown sort of becomes the fulcrum offensively, and his ability to drive and kick and orchestrate the offense is not something that's been synonymous with Jaylen Brown sort of in the first half of his career. So do you want to talk a little bit about what that evolution's looked like? I know you've written about it for Celtics blog recently.
Yeah, so the first place to start is that his counting stats for passing are just up. He's throwing more passes. He's one more assist a game, 4.6, which is a very nice number for a wing. His potential assists are up to 8.5 from 6.8 last year. And he is just getting on the ball a lot more. He's running about 2 more pick and rolls per game. He's isolating about 2 more times per game. He's getting 6 more touches per game. And those 6 touches are not meaningless touches. They are touches where he is running the offense or running the secondary action on the ball instead of just being used as a play finisher. And he's mostly risen to the challenge this season. I think his reads are becoming a lot more high level. And one thing I've noticed JB has done that he traditionally has not done, and it's something Tatum is really good at, is manipulating the defense with his eyes and with his body. He's been throwing some passes where it looks like he's like kicking it to the wing and he finds the corner shooter, or he gathers like he's about to take a layup and then he keeps it going and finds the corner shooter or lays it off to the big in the dunker spot. And I think he's done a lot better job at putting trailing defenders, getting over the pick and roll in jail, and kind of using his body and his strength to slowly probe into the paint and look for shooters or look for the lob or finish himself. And those are all evolutions that those were all big time weaknesses of Jaylen Brown's game 3 years ago. And he's just slowly kept adding and getting more comfortable. And now he's a very solid playmaker at this point. 4.6 assists is very, very solid. He had been at 3.5 for his basically entire career since he became a high usage wing. So this little 1 jump and assist, about 2 jumps and potential assists, is very, very encouraging. And he's kind of taken another little mini leap, and it adds another dimension to his game and the Celtics offense.
What would we call a mini leap? Like a hop? Or hop?
Yeah, hop. Yeah,
skip.
A hop.
Yeah, I think it's
hop, skip. Yeah. Hop, skip, and a jump for Jaylen Brown this season. Yeah, I love it, dude. I think it's just a bit of a mentality thing as well. I think he wants to get guys involved. And Noah Dalzell did some really good reporting on this Celtics unselfishness and looking at all the coaches that kind of have mentioned the Celtics and their unselfishness this year. And I think it's become part of the Celtics culture. And I think Jaylen buying into that is a big piece of that because it's just not natural for him. It's just not something that ever came naturally to him, was his passing ability, also his ability to read the game. And he's played a lot of basketball now, so it makes sense that it started to slow down. It doesn't, though, for a lot of guys. Jeremy Grant never continued to improve his assist to turnover ratio. I actually don't even know if that's true. I just assume that it's not true because Jeremy Grant never really. You don't really hear people talking about Jeremy Grant's improving much of anything besides his bank account. So sorry to Jeremy Grant if that's wrong.
He's done very well.
Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, and he's done a really good job of improving his bank account. I should take notes, but Jaylen loves getting better, and I think buying into this piece of it has had a really positive impact on his own game, but also the Celtics offense. Looking at his assist to turnover ratios, so 1.71 this year, assist to turnover ratio, 1.5 last year, 1.18 the year before that. Those little improvements, that's a massive jump from 21-22 to now. And we still talk about there is the evil Jaylen in there sometimes, and I totally think that's fair to give him a bit of a pass tonight with everything that was going on with his family today. Also, again, the Celtics suck off rest, and I think that was part of it tonight. He's got to be more in a rhythm to get those reads and get a bit more comfortable. But that's a big jump from 1.18 to 1.71 from assist to turnover. And you think about the Game 7 of the conference finals against the Heat, I just don't think the floor is as low as it used to be from that perspective, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Spinny.
I was just going to say really quick, Ben, sorry to jump in, but not only is that assist to turnover ratio improving, it's improving while he's on the ball more too. So he's getting more opportunities, and he's cutting that ratio or improving that ratio, which I think is really important because often when guys are given more opportunities and asked to have more of the ball, that's when the turnovers really start to climb. And that has happened to Jaylen, and he seemed to have figured it out recently.
Yeah, and he was given so many opportunities in late game clutch situations in the playoffs, conference finals and finals. I think it was the end of game 4 against the Pacers where he had that essentially game-winning assist to Derek White in the corner. Yep. And then, similar situation, Jaylen Brown ISO with the ball up top, doesn't make the pass, but the threat of the pass puts him in a situation where he can make that free throw line pull-up jumper, I think in game 3 of the finals in Dallas. Like, just trusting him as a decision maker, whether to take the shot, whether to make the pass. This year, per cleaning the glass, 20% assist percentage, which is like the measurement of like what percentage of his teammates made shots did he assist on. 20%, that's good for 87th percentile overall league-wide. That is not a prediction I would have made in the first like 5 years of Jaylen Brown's career. And there was a period of Jaylen Brown, like flat top Jaylen, where you could tell like his priority, his only agenda item was like, can I posterize whoever is in front of me or whoever's waiting for me at the rim? And to see this trajectory, this evolution of his playmaking game, and you guys nailed it, like just how everything is slowed down for him to the point where he's even in a position to make those decisions, let alone execute on them so well. And what was it, game 7 against the Heat? I hate to even mention it. A couple of years ago, how many turnovers? 8 turnovers, whatever it was. Just like a dog shit game. Where are we now? Like, what a pivot. What a turnaround. So it's really exciting. And for him to be able to exhibit this, I don't want to say in the shadow of Jason Tatum, but like alongside Jason Tatum with everything that he's doing as well. It's truly like an amazing achievement. And I can't believe we're here, but we absolutely are.
Yeah, there's a world where Jaylen Brown's career is Dion Waiters' career. Like, Waiters was a super athletic, high
getting too high on the plane.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say that. The Celtics are probably doing that part of Waiters' career. Let's be honest here. But
Jaylen can handle his shit though. That's the difference.
Yeah, right,
absolutely. Exactly. He's locked in.
Yeah.
But like, he was a super athletic scoring guard who just never learned how to do anything else. And that's not Jaylen Brown. And that's why Jaylen Brown's a borderline all-NBA player, and why Dion Waiters is probably playing like Call of Duty somewhere, like, and it's a credit to JB. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not bad. It's much like my life.
Yeah. And I definitely love that JB had that agenda item at the top of his list. Like, we got a lot of great Jaylen Brown posters, but yeah, to mix in some Jaylen posters with the playmaking growth, yeah, it's lovely to see.
I would love to talk to Jaylen Brown's Drew Hanlon, whoever that is, if he even has one, to understand like where that's come from, like how long it's been prioritized for. Is it something that's just come naturally as he's grown and matured as a person, or has it been like a focal point from a training and coaching and development perspective as well? Is that like completely attributed to the Celtics coaching staff? I know that Tony Dobbins has like a really close relationship with Jaylen Brown, developmentally speaking, but has that come from anywhere else? So a call out to the Jaylen Brown equivalent of Drew Hanlon, please come on this podcast and shine a light on that. Anything else on JB, guys, before we move on to the juicy trade conversation? We'll get to an ad read before that too.
I was going to say, we forgot to talk about Jaden Springer, and I do think we need to do like a couple minutes on Jaden Springer.
You didn't like the showcase, the blow case as you called it?
Are we doing it now?
Was it? Let's do it. Okay. Was it a Brad Stevens directive? I need to on the phone down to Joe. Like, he's calling from up in the balcony of the arena. Joe, I need you to get Springer on the court right now. I've got a couple of GMs on the line and want to see him do his thing.
That would explain it. That's for sure. Because, I mean, look, Jordan Walsh hasn't been great this season, I wouldn't say, but Drew Peterson's been pretty solid lately, so I think that would have been a much better option. No Luke Cornett tonight either. So, like, double bigs with Luke and Allen, Luke and or KP have been solid as well. These Hauser injuries can starting to pile up a little bit as well, which I don't like. But which would explain again, Ben, getting Springer on the court. What can we trade him for? Which goes into our next segment. Well, not much would be my guess, without attaching a fair amount of assets. Because, dude, I know there was one possession we played good on-ball defense, but he got completely cooked by Kobe White right before that too, and he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything. I don't know what he does good. He has good one-on-one on-ball defense, but that does not even that valuable of a skill because he's not that good at getting around screens either. So it's doesn't matter if you're good at staying in front of your guy for those small instances where it's 7 seconds left on the shot clock and then you have the chance to stay in front of just one guy, then fine. That's great. He does this thing where he comes in flying off 2 feet, trying to grab all these rebounds. doesn't get any of them. It's like, great. He's way smaller than you think. He's like Pritchard size. He's like a bit sturdier. He's not some big, terrible on offense. I don't know what he does. I
saw him in Vegas. I walked past him at the Aria, and I was like, "Hello, fellow like shortish person." It was very much the same size. It was amazing.
Get his
I never got it. I still don't get it. I just don't understand what the vision is with Jaden Springer. Like, even if he shoots it like at 36% on wide open threes, like, one, that's not good enough because he literally does nothing else on offense. He has zero. He can't break anybody down. He's supposed to be a point guard. He's got nothing with the handle, nothing. He's a terrible finisher around the rim, and he's got no mid-range game, and he can't shoot threes. So that's kind of a problem. And then defensively, like, man, like, there was many miscommunications involving Springer on screens. I don't think all of them were his fault. But I think the fact of having a dude out there who is blowing switches and having miscommunications makes the other guys second guess, like, well, shit, do I need to cover up for his mistake? Yeah. Oh, should I really switch this? Or does he think he needs to get over this screen? So it was bad, man. It was really bad, which is a shame because he seems like a nice guy and, you know, all that stuff. But like, he has no value. He's an expiring contract, which has a little bit of value for some of these tanking teams. But other than that, he is a negative asset, essentially.
That segues in a very unexciting way to our next segment. We will get to an ad read very quickly. Jake, we'll talk about our friends over at Game Time.
One of my best friend's birthdays is a few days after Christmas. So when I was back from law school and back when IT ruled the garden, me, him, and two other friends decided to go catch little guy light it up. We got to watch him hang 52 on the Miami Heat and just, enjoy being buddies. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it's the perfect gift. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals or great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. As you know from hearing me rave about them, the WVU Mountaineers are now 8-2, prime for a big season as conference play is right around the corner. The best way to get me to the Coliseum is via Game Time. You can just hop on the app, search for a game or team, and it's super easy. You're shown all the available tickets and all the best deals right on your phone. The curated deals make it even easier to find the best seats at the best prices, and maybe my favorite feature is the seat view. And when you go to buy, if you toggle on the all-in pricing, you won't be hit with any surprise fees at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
Shout out Game Time. You guys are nailing these ad reads at like aligning them with the like predetermined length of the silent clips that we run. So
we're pros.
We're professionals, dude. We're on the bloody Celtics broadcast. Drew Hanlon.
I know.
Professional sportscasters, dude.
No, never
you trained us well, Ben.
I didn't do anything. I just said, read this. I should say, I feel like I segued unfairly to you, Spoonie, in terms of talking about the unexcited segue to this segment. What is unexciting is the showcase that Jaden Springer put on or didn't put on tonight. Not the setup of the show. You raised that very excitedly, Spoonie, so just wanted to make sure I called that out. So it sort of remains that Jaden Springer, who makes $4 million this year, is really our one and only trade chip in the sense that we can't sort of stack salaries or anything like that because of the constraints of the current CBA that we are under various impositions with. But there are a number of tidy fits salary-wise that could improve the Celtics roster, and given the circumstances with these teams we're about to talk about, they might feel compelled to do the dance with Brad Stevens and potentially trade with us. So Jaden Springer, I think, is just easy to offer up initially, is the outgoing Celtics piece in most of these hypothetical trade scenarios, guys. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I was, as soon as you were speaking though, I'm like, man, I kind of wish I had done a little Drew Holiday.
Oh,
like,
I thought you were going to say Tillman.
I don't think, it'd be great if we could trade Tillman for something as well, but he also doesn't make any money. So yeah, we can't aggregate salaries together for everybody that I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast probably knows already, but like second apron dumb stuff designed to break up this incredible Celtics team. we can't add salaries together, so the most we can trade outside of like the top, as you know, seven guys is the $4 million Jaden Springer contract, unless Drew Holiday would probably be at the top of the list of any of those other guys. Maybe you could make the argument for Porzingis as well, but I think with Drew's slightly bigger number, maybe that would be the case. But no, we're not, I don't have any of those names prepared right now, but maybe I'll get some by the end of the podcast. But yeah, Jaden Springer is the guy. So anyone making like $4 million and $35,000 less. Side note: I hope Jaden Springer has saved his what will be $10 million career earnings, because there's gonna be that much more coming from the NBA. Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, well, maybe we should set this up like so that when we clip it later, it sounds good. But 3 realistic trades that the Celtics can use Jaden Springer in to acquire more talent. There's 3 names I think that we'll run through very quickly, but we can pepper in a few more. Oh, yeah. The first one, very excited about the potential here. Gershon Yabusele, who currently plays for the very terrible Philadelphia 76ers. Time for the Sixers just to give up is my one note against this potential trade. Give up, trade everyone, and trade Gershon Yabusele back to his rightful home, the Boston Celtics, guys.
Bring me Yabu. Bring me the dancing bear. Bring me Gershon Yabusele. He is the guy that we need. Man, you got to complete the circle. Bring him back home. Sixers season's over. Jared McCain is out probably for the season with the meniscus surgery. Joel Embiid is currently out with a sinus fracture, which, could vary. Could honestly be up to like a 2-month, long injury. Their season's done. Just accept it. Trade all the pieces you can. Look, they have a top 6 protected pick. They need to be as bad as possible. You know who's really helpful for that? Jaden Springer. Send him over. Send him over for Yabu and Kyle Lowry as well. I'll take Kyle Lowry back. Because they have to send back 2 guys, I think, to because I don't think they can take like $2 extra million.
I'm not sure that works. I think Kyle Lowry might make a little bit. They make the exact same amount of money, and we can't take $1 over Springer's money. So that'll be really close. It might work.
Who makes that much?
Kyle Lowry and Yabusele both make 2.087, and Springer is Springer at 4 even.
That's 4.035, I believe.
All right, it's going to be really close. Either way, we could take somebody else back, but yeah. So Philly can't retain Yabu. I'm not sure what their mid-level exception looks like, but they don't have his bird rights. They can't really offer him more than a minimum. So they're not really incentivized to keep him for long term. So it probably makes sense for them to extract an asset on a dude they took a flyer on, even if it's a couple second-round picks. It gives them more ammo to go and try to reinvent this team somehow in the offseason. So I think Yabu would be an incredible fit. He's exactly the position we need. I mean, we're so obviously thin at the wing when Sam Hauser is injured that Jaden Springer got minutes. That is an indictment on on our wing depth a little bit, even though we have better options than Jaden Springer. But he's shooting 37% from 3. He's a solid rebounder. He's somewhat switchable. He kind of just knows how to play too. Like, he's a ball mover. He's just a really smart, solid NBA player. He'd probably be my number 1, especially since I think he can contribute like immediately. Mm-hmm. And some of the guys I have in mind are more long-term, like see if we can find somebody who can be a long-term piece. But Yabu would be great. It would be tough for us to retain him beyond this season too. But hey, we're going for a championship. Who gives a shit about next year?
Yeah, and he would sort of fill that Xavier Tillman role as well, like that fourth big that you need to fill in certain situations. Mm-hmm. I think that would be where Yabu would slide in. But yeah, the Frenchman, he's got the rapport with the team, having been a former Boston Celtic. Obviously, the memes are plenty, and just the derriere extraordinaire. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh, man, so juicy.
The caboose. The caboose might be loose. Next one, Walker Kessler. Can we entice Danny Ainge to give up what would be probably the most valuable piece of all the names that we're going to mention here? He makes 2.9 this year, so fits into that Springer salary nicely. 4.8 next year, which could be problematic depending on how we break up the team beyond this year's title run. Is he actually obtainable, I guess, is the main question. Because while the math works, it's like, can you actually convince Danny Ainge to give up maybe one of his more talented pieces for essentially like Springer and picks in return?
Yeah, like both of these trades so far are very dependent on the other team wanting to trade these players. I don't really know why Utah would be trading Walker Kessler. Like, he's not helping them. He's not ruining their tank. They're doing a great job right now of being terrible. So, like, he's a young player. Why would you not want to keep him for when you do become good? Unless you bowl them over with value. And that bowling people over with value means different things to different people. To Danny Ainge, we know what that means. And so it's like, unless he does the old Kevin McHale, Kevin Garnett, send him over for one of the boys, situations.
Yeah, it's got to be that.
Like, then sure. And I'm willing to, live in a world where that potentially happens. We have a lot of big men, but I do think that he would probably, rim protection wise, he'd be he'd be right in there. And our biggest, injury concern is by far and away, Porzingis. And how long can we rely on Al Horford? Do you just want to buy one more insurance policy to try and help you secure the second title? Yeah, I would love to, but I'm not breaking the bank. I'm not giving up 2 firsts for Walker Kessler, which means you're probably not getting him.
No, yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think he would be a really good fit. I think he's an awesome defensive player. He's extremely limited offensively, but who cares? Like, everybody looks good playing with Jason Tatum, and we'll just hit him on as the roll man all day. 2 firsts would be rich for my blood. I would definitely do 1 in some seconds, though. And you're going to need young, cheap players to stay competitive in the future. And I don't think Kessler really projects to be an expensive guy in the future. Like, I feel like you could extend him at a pretty reasonable number and just have kind of like the backup center is locked down and he's good enough to spot start when we need him to, or start for stretches of games when we need him to. So I think he'd be an upgrade on that third center spot with potential to be more if he kind of figures it out offensively. And like, he is a crazy rim protector. So having him and KP just like playing 48 minutes a night would be hell for other teams. So I'd be all for it. Danny, you know how he is. He's like a goblin, the way he hoards his treasure, man.
Yeah.
He's not giving it up for a pick in 2 seconds,
And why would he? Like, even if it wasn't Danny,
Yeah.
like, why? I just don't really see the rationale from Utah's side. Unless
You
it's
really believe in Filipowski and you want to clear minutes for him? I don't know.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
throwing darts.
I guess the reason for at least listing Walker Kessler is like, we do technically have the draft capital to make it happen. It's just like where we're at our juncture and the talent we've already got on the team. It's like you probably wouldn't make that splash. But there is a world where we could wine and dine Danny Ainge. And after a couple of drinks, maybe the amount of firsts you need to throw in, the amount of seconds comes down a little bit. But it's probably not going to happen. So we can move on to our next name, which is Noah Clowney, who makes $3.2 million this year. Maybe a more obtainable Walker Kessler light, which is maybe a phrase that's never been used before. It makes 3.3 next year with a team option in 2026, 2027, where he'd make 5.4 million. Spoonie, I know you're like quite high on Clowney. Tell us
You're
more.
a huge Clowney guy. I don't have anything on Clowney really. But go
So
ahead.
I got nothing.
comes a time, gentlemen, where people have to fight for what they believe in. Maybe those beliefs aren't founded in reality, but they mean something to you. And today I'm going to fight that fight. I don't know why I think Noah Clowney's good. He hasn't really proved that he's a good NBA player, but he's 20. He's 6'9". He's athletic, and he's shooting 37% from 3 on 4 threes a game. So there is the archetype of an extremely, extremely valuable player in there, man. And like, he's not going to reach it on the Nets because they're a fucking mess. They are way more of a mess when Noah Clowney plays. He has a -10 on-off differential. Not great, not ideal. Okay, I'll admit that. But I just think for a long-term piece, his skill set makes a lot of sense. And you can lock him up long-term at a cheap price because he won't become good yet when he's extension eligible. But I think these are the types of guys I think we should be looking at for sort of long-term pieces to surround the Jays for once we kind of got to scrap Drew, for salary purposes, essentially.
Man, the numbers are not good. That's
No,
for sure.
they're terrible. They're
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
terrible. Yeah,
yeah.
I get
Like,
it. Yeah.
So the one number that is good is the 3-point shot. Like
And the
even
height.
bars- and I mean, yeah, dimensions wise, yeah, like
Yeah.
this feels like you're drafting someone. It's like,
Yeah.
man, and so I get that, and I get the theory of, you know, looking to the future. I guess I thought of it more from this season's perspective, but like. So he's shooting 37% from three, but he's also shooting 39% from the field. And
Who cares?
As a
You're not
as
making.
as a big man, I would love for my big man to shoot more than 43% from 2-point range, which is low.
If I may, he's shooting 45% on wide open threes. He'd get a lot of those on the Celtics, gentlemen. We don't want him finishing around the rim. We got guys to do that. He just needs to spot up, make shots, and be kind of switchable at 6'9", which he's not right now, but he could be. You ever think about that?
You
he
never
could
want
keep
your
growing.
biggest player near the rim, Jake. It's a basketball tale as old
You
as time.
idiot.
Yeah, exactly. Look, Adam Silver wants more threes. That's just what I heard. So let's get Noah Clowney in here. So yeah, look, if he gets traded here, I'm sure. Look, if we're sending out Jaden Springer, you know I'll be happy. So
Right.
Yeah, look, you dialed into my frequency. You're talking hypotheticals based on dimensions. This is my lane with guys like Tristan Vukcevic, who I believe currently plays for the Capital City Go-Go. It shows you how well that approach to player development or evaluation rather works out. Not well, but I mean, look, I think the overarching consensus is that we've got this little chunk of salary in Springer. We've got enough guard depth. Can we flip this into extended big man depth, given the wavering concerns among the three of us with regards to Kristaps Porzingis and just sort of the very gradual upward trending concerns with Al Horford's age, as much as he continues to defy that on all angles there.
So I think long term, that's fair. Like worrying about your long term wing depth when you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown is not something that I think you need to be overly concerned about. But looking at this season and what we need for the regular season, and again, wing depth in the playoffs, I don't know. This Hauser stuff is not ideal. And I think Pritchard can take some of those minutes with how well that he's playing, but Pritchard's not 6'8". And Hauser was really fucking good in the finals, and he's just a really good player. They're missing a wing. So, like, for this season, I think targeting a perimeter player that can help you would be what I would try and do before. I would prioritize that. If you can't do that, then I would prioritize trying to get a longer-term, project at the big man position. So I got a couple guys. So I saw someone mentioned Adam Taylor wrote about Cam Whitmore. He's at the top of my list here. Now, he's not playing for the Rockets. They've got so many guys. And he would kind of answer both of those short-term and long-term kind of things where because he's just tantalizing. We saw him at Summer League, man. Like this.
Oh, yeah.
This dude is, just prototypical NBA star wing guy. I don't know if he's going to turn into that, but he could play. He could play better than Jaden Springer tonight. I promise you that.
You know who was also very awesome at Summer League? Jaden Springer. Played one game and got shut down.
That's true. Yeah, Springer's been in the NBA 5 years, though.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
Whitmore's been pretty good in the NBA. So far, he's not playing it all this year. Like he averaged 12 points a game last year, on pretty solid. What was his true shooting? It was 56% true shooting as a young guy.
That's fine.
That's great, dude. For that type of player, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I think my one concern with Whitmore, I'm with you, Jake. Like, I love Cam Whitmore. I think he has a chance to be really, really special. He kind of reminds me of young Jaylen Brown in some ways, with the way he's just so physical and his athleticism, quick twitch athleticism, so ridiculous. But I think he's a kind of a head case. I don't know. I think he might have some work ethic-y. I'm totally speculating. I don't know shit. But I think that's out there. And I don't know if you can probably poison the well with one dude and it's not really going to have any impact. And we wouldn't invest enough in him where it's this guy's becoming a problem. We just cut him. But I don't know. That's my one hesitation with him. But then the flip side is if he can get the Jays to be dude, you have to work as hard as us and you will become us. And then all of a sudden we have a third K K Whitmore. Yeah, see, whatever, you know what I mean. It's K-Y, whatever. That he is tantalizing is the perfect word. It kind of makes me a little uncomfortable when you said it in like a good way. But give me Cam Whitmore. Let's do it.
Fuck it. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
That's my assessment. All right, next.
All right, next. So these are all perimeter guys. That's like the upside play. Former Celtics sibling, Julian Champagnie, playing currently for the
Spurs.
San Antonio Spurs. I don't think he's great, but he's been like fine for those guys. And we're talking, literally just replacement level veteran wing. We're kind of missing Brissy right now. Another option is dump Springer into cap space and just sign Brissett off the street. That would be something that I would be totally in for as well. But the Julian Champagnie thing, he ticks that like big wing box. He's 6'8", dribble, pass, shoot. He's shooting 36% from three. This season, 37% for his career on 4.7 attempts. Like, it's pretty solid, man. Like, that's fine.
I know that. Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
Well, this is a very predictable thing that I'm about to say, but I know that Brissy TV has taken a massive ratings hit. I know ratings are all the talk at the moment. Brissy TV has really tanked a lot, so it would help Brissy.
Ben is
probably
the only
help
one
us.
still watching Brissy TV. Really.
I know. I'm a huge fan. T-shirt is on its way. So yeah, that would be great all around for both parties for many reasons. Go ahead, Spoonie.
Yeah, no, and look, the ratings are down. Brissy TV bearing the brunt of it. It is a damn shame. But I've often referred to Julian Champagnie as the good Champagnie. I really liked him at St. Joe's. Here's the problem. He plays for he is like kind of a core piece for them. He's playing 30 minutes a night for they're 500. They're not that bad. That said, I'm not sure he's in their long-term plans. They've got a lot of guys that need minutes there, but he's still only 23. So I'd be interested to see how much the Spurs value him at, whether it's a first and more or just a first or a swap. I'm not really sure. I don't perceive him as having much upside, and I don't think he's a long-term solution for them at the wing. So they might just be like, let's cut ties. Let's get some assets and move on. But I think he would be great, man. I really like his game. Like every time I watch the Spurs, I'm like, he just does positive stuff out there, and he makes open corner threes, which is always helpful.
Yeah, man. He's awesome. Well, awesome is probably strong, but awesome as far like going from a starter to being our 10th/11th man. That would be good. Ben, I know you got a wrap here. I got a few extra guys. We can save for another day or just
Can we rapid fire?
Yeah, rapid fire. So Alec Burks always likes his game. Like, again, replacement level wings that can knock down shots. He's like a legit shooter. He can shoot. Garrison Matthews, former Celtics legend, not really playing for the Hawks as far as I'm aware. I think he just can come in, hit shots. Former Celtics legend Javonte Green, former Celtics legend Delonte Banton.
Yes, get Banton back. Best theoretical player in the league.
I'm kidding. I'm mostly kidding about Banton. Torrey Craig, legit. Like, he's not really playing, I don't think, much either. Isn't he playing for the Bulls? He's not really playing, right? So, Jake LaRavia. I know Santi Aldama is the guy everybody wants. Jake LaRavia, but again, he plays for them. He's just good. I don't think we'll be able to get him, but they have a ton of guys that they might have to pay, but they're playing so well right now. They just whooped the shit out of Golden State, and they're like on track to be a top 3, top 4 seed in the West. I don't think like getting him is probably realistic. Daniel Tice, Duop Reith. So I don't know, Spoonie, of those guys that I just
throwing
mentioned,
in Duop Reith at the end there.
my guy did.
You almost got away with it.
Is there one of those guys? So like, I mean, like, Champagnie's probably the guy that makes like the most sense. But if you had to say
For sure.
Burks, Garrison Matthews, or Javonte Green, Banton, Craig, out of those guys that like you think makes the most sense?
For me, it might be Garrison Matthews, honestly.
Let's go.
He's a gunner, man.
Yeah.
And like he competes defensively. He is not a good defensive player, but he plays fucking hard. And like that's all you need out of your 10th guy. He makes shots and he plays hard. Like
It's
that
Fee.
really-
He's just Fee
yeah.
again. We could
Yeah.
really use Fee at the moment.
If we could. He fits with Springer. He only makes like 3.5, so
Probably,
we can just
yeah.
bring him back. I think he's on Utah.
I was going to say. There we go. This is what it's all about. We're back, baby.
But Craig is like, go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I was going to say Torrey Craig shooting just under 39% from three this season. And like if the Hauser situation is a concern, I think dimensionally and just like the player archetype, Torrey Craig is like getting close to replenishing that dwindling part of the player pool. So I think that might be a safe acquisition, especially if he is acquirable. We just mentioned like he's not playing for the Bulls at the moment. I think that'd be a safe acquisition and doable acquisition for the Celtics, certainly.
I love it. Look, there's more options than you think, but there's also less options than you think at the same time.
It's hard to find people who like aren't terrible that make less than $4 million that play the wing. It really is.
You know what I thought of? I know we have to wrap. I'm sorry, Ben. Like future Drew Holiday for Kobe White trade, and then like 3-team it somehow. Just players like that don't make that much money that you just end up sending into cap space somehow. We'll deep dive it next time when it's actually.
Yeah, we'll figure.
Yeah. And like, we're gunning for a championship at the moment. So
I know,
like, Drew Holiday stays, Kristaps Porzingis stays. We're not going to mess with the delicate framework of the championship, about to repeat championship winning Boston Celtics. But it's an exciting conversation to have in the near future. We do have to wrap it there. Maybe we'll just run this one more time.
The First to the Floor podcast. Shout out to Australia. And he talked about how Jason Tatum.
Shout out to Australia, baby.
Yeah, we'll get Drew Carter on him and tell him explain the virtues of West Virginia. But look, guys, the Celtics, they play like every second day now between now and the end of the year, which is great. And so we can quickly cleanse ourselves of the bad vibes from tonight. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and the audio podcast. Why not double bang it? Subscribe to both. We'll be back with another pod early next week. But if you want more content before then, subscribe to the Patreon. Follow Jake and Spoonie on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram. All our links are in the description below. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celts.